All right, here's a quick recording of your test review for those of you who need to see the steps of the graphing or hear it explained, or maybe you need to pause, rewind, and practice, okay? For this first problem, it says graph a linear relationship, and it gives you a point and a slope. All you're being asked to do is graph the line for this. You do not need to construct an equation or do any math, so don't overcomplicate it. So we're going to start with the point, -7, 7. So starting at 0, 0, I'm going -7 in the left direction. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then +7 in the vertical direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's my point, -7, 7. And my slope, -3/2. This is my rise over run. So you can do this one of two ways. If you have the negative on top, that means you're going to go down 3 and right 2. So coming back to the first point that you graphed, I would go down 3 and right 2. And my second point would be there. And I can do that as many times as I want. Down 3, right 2, and all those points are going to be on the same line. If you are graphing and you have the negative on the bottom instead, that means for your rise direction is now +3. That means you're going to go up 3. And your run direction is -2. That means going left 2. So if I were to go back to my original point and now go up 3, left 2, you can see that all those points are on the same line. Okay, so you have options there. On this next one, use the graph to answer the following questions. Slope. Remember, your slope is rise over run. It's the change in the y's over the change in the x's. So find 2 points that you know are on the graph. So this point and this point. Anything else in between looks kind of off, like you're not really sure it's going over where the lines cross. So don't use those. Use ones where you know it is. So this is 0, 5, and this is -3, 0. So I'm just going to count my rise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's in the +5 direction. And then 1, 2, 3, +3. So this is my rise because I went up. This is my run because you run left and right. And so rise over run is 5/3. Your y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis. So this line is the graph. This is the graph. This is the y-axis. And here is where they intersect, right here. So that's my y-intercept. And that point is 0, 5. The y-intercept x is always 0. So everywhere up and down this y-axis, x is 0. And I know this said standard form, and in class today I tried to tell you I'll change that to slope-intercept form. So that general equation is y equals mx plus b. B is the y value of your y-intercept. The y-intercept's y value. And then m is the slope that we already found. So this is going to give me y equals 5/3 x plus 5. Number 3, what are the x and y intercepts of the graph of this equation? So an x-intercept is where y equals 0, and a y-intercept is where x equals 0. And if you need a little visual of that, the y-intercept, where does the graph cross the y-axis? Well, everywhere on this line, x equals 0, everywhere here. So to find the y-intercept algebraically, we plug in x equals 0. And here's what that's going to look like. So this is for the y-intercept. Let x equal 0. So 5y minus 2 times 0 equals 18. So this goes away, and I have 5y equals 18. Divide by 5. Y equals 18 fifths. And you can leave it as a fraction. So x is 0, y is 18 fifths, right? Literally, x0, y. And then for the x-intercept is where's the graph going to cross the x-axis, right? Here's my x-axis. Well, everywhere on this line, y equals 0. So to find the x-intercept, I'm going to let y equals 0 in my equation. So I go back to the equation, 5y minus 2x equals 18. I'm going to plug in 0 for the y. So 5 times 0 is nothing. So I'm left with negative 2x equals 18. Divide by negative 2, and x equals negative 9. Okay, x equals negative 9 when y equaled 0. So my point is going to be negative 9 comma 0. That's my x-intercept. That's my x, and that's my y. And if this was asking me to graph it, I would just plot this point, plot that point, and then draw the line. So it'd be like negative 9, 0, and then 0, 18, 5, and then I would just draw the line between them. On the back, graph the function y equals negative 4x plus 5. Start here. That's my y-intercept. That's the point it's going to cross the y-axis. Okay, it's also as an ordered pair at 0, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then negative 4 is my slope. But remember, that needs to be a fraction because it's going to give me rise on top and run on the bottom. So I'm going to write this over 1. So a negative 4 rise means I'm going to go down 4. And a positive 1 run means to the right 1. So starting at the point I graphed, I'm going to go down 4 and right 1. And that's my second point. And you can do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. And remember that this next part isn't necessary, but just so you hear it, if I had the negative on the bottom, that would mean my rise is positive 4. That means go up 4. And negative 1 means left 1. So going back to my original point here, I could go up 4 and left 1. And you'll notice that's the same line, all those points. All right, this next one is the last lesson we did the other day. You need to know that slope is where you subtract the y's on top, x is on the bottom, and then you have to plug into this equation. So I'm going to start with the slope. I'm going to label my points x1, y1, x2, y2. So 7 minus 2 over negative 4 minus 5. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that is 5 over negative 9. Do yourself a favor and just go ahead and put the negative on top. When it's on the bottom, it confuses people. And now we go to this equation, and I'm going to plug the x1, y1 in here and the slope in here. So here's my x1, y1. So that gives me y minus 2 equals negative 5/9 times x minus 5. And this is asking us to write it in slope-intercept form. So my goal is to rewrite it like this. Y equals mx plus b. So I have to get rid of these parentheses by distributing. And then eventually I'm going to get rid of this negative 2 by adding it. But first let's do the distributive. So y minus 2 equals negative 5/9 x. And then negative 5/9 times negative 5. Let's talk about that over here. Times negative 5. Now this negative 5 is really over 1. And when you multiply fractions, you go across the top and across the bottom. So that's going to give me 25/9 positive, because negative times negative. Okay, so we got rid of the parentheses. Now we need to get the y by itself, but it has a minus 2. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides. And we talked the other day about how when I need to add these two things, they need to have a common denominator. So I'm going to come over here and do that work on the side. So 25/9 plus 2, which is over 1. I need the 1 and the 9 to match. So I'm going to multiply this 1 by 9. And whatever I do to the bottom, I also have to do to the top. So that's going to give me 18/9. So now that I'm adding fractions, so I'm adding these, the 9s stay the same on the bottom, and 25 plus 18 is 43. So my final answer is y equals negative 5/9 x plus 43/9. And I'm going to stop the video here and make a new video for the rest of the problems.